talk a little bit about what regret is, and then we can decide for ourselves, is it a bad thing or is it a good thing? Because I believe that if we're alive and we're breathing, we will be able to feel and experience what we widely know to be the idea of regret. So, what is regret?
You have to go down one path or the other, and you make the choice. Might be a tough decision, and you make the choice, not knowing what the outcome will be, and then afterwards have a regret. Like, oh, I wish I could do a do-over. Wish I could have a do-over and pick column A instead of pick column B, the one that I picked.
So, what I'm hearing is that you made a choice, you don't like the choice, and you wish you can do it again. You can do it over. I guess in the computer, you do the Control Z, is to undo, right?
Or
Is that an Apple command?
I don't
Control
know.
Z
Control-
is to
It's a
do.
Windows command.
Control
Is it?
Z
Okay.
is to do
I
over.
did not know that. Note to self. Control
Yeah.
Z, do-over.
Control Z is a do-over. I just learned that today.
That's
so
cool.
yeah, I thought, wow, this is cool because
Didn't know that
I was
option.
listening to this young woman talk about do-over. I said, what is that? What is a Control Z? Do I not know this? And she says, well, look on your computer. Control Z is an undo. It's an undo command. So it's a do-over.
Well, not necessarily that you didn't like the choice at the time,
Right.
that you liked the choice at the time, but you didn't like what the outcome was later, or the outcome that you got was not what you expected. So
So you didn't like the consequence of your
yes,
choice.
yes, it didn't like the
And
consequence.
so you regret
Yes.
the outcome of your choice.
Also,
Yes.
if when you're facing that crossroads, if you're thinking too much about whether the outcome is going to be something that you hate or not, it can be paralyzing. It keeps you from being able to make decisions.
Right.
Mhm.
Options keep us anxious.
As you were talking about, things kind of paralyze you as you start, and that's only an accumulation of the choices you've made. So as a younger child, as a younger person, you make decisions easier because you don't know the outcome. And as you're talking about regret, sometimes even the other choice wasn't a very good one.
That's right.
So,
True.
it's not, even a lot of the times, I've made decisions in my life, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done that. And then really I play the scenario back in my head, and if I would have done it, I either would have been worse off or in the same place.
I think we have established that regret is a feeling, right? Are we good on that? We established that regret is an emotion. We feel. And generally, it's not a good feeling. So it is a negative emotion. Let's establish that. And based on my understanding in the work I do, there are only two basic emotions. If it ain't good, it has to come from fear. If it's a good feeling, it has to come from love. So regret is, in a sense, a kind of fear. A fear that if you hadn't done well in whatever you are regretting, that somehow you feel less about yourself, and then somehow you give yourself the license to beat yourself up, so that you feel better. I don't know if beating yourself up helps you feel better, or sometimes it's sort of an irrational act, that because I feel unworthy, so I do things that will justify my unworthiness. I know it's some kind of a perverse logic, but people do that. Because I don't feel good enough, then I will subscribe to things that are not so good because I don't deserve any better.
Or at least I often will say things that as soon as I say them, I'm thinking, why did I say that? That was mean or hurtful, or, and then I immediately have that sense of regret. But again, I can immediately apologize and say, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I did not mean to say that. I did not mean to hurt your feelings.
So there is this Control Z that you can do over, or somehow make amends to make it
Right.
better.
But then there's others that
There
you
is
really
the zero
can't.
control, which once the cat's out of the bag, you
Right.
can't catch it back.
Right.
Right.
So there
Right.
are two degrees of regret.
Mhm.
There's a certain kind of regret where you can make amends and make things better, and there are some things that are irreparable, things that have gone out. So
Or going down that other path,
Mhm.
thinking that you made the right choice, and then the outcome was not
Yes.
what you expected, and
Yes.
it's hard to go. You can't go back and just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I made the wrong choice of the path. I want to go down this one now." It's more
Well, one of the
difficult.
things that's so difficult about that is that when you're making a choice, especially between two courses of action, you don't really know which one is best. So you have to be willing when you make that choice to accept the outcome may be a really good one, or it might be something that you regret. But you have to be able to. I have to be able to make that choice and not just sit there terrified.
well, options can often paralyze us.
Yeah.
All you have to do is to know the difference when you walk into Aldi supermarket or you walk into Walmart to do your grocery.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's option B, C,
right.
D.
because
What do
Aldi
you
has
choose?
so much less choices for the same kind of product. You just look, you want to buy chocolate, that's it, pick one. But if we have too many choices, and I remember the first time when I came to an American supermarket back in the 70s when I came to the United States as an immigrant wife, and I go, my gosh, what a waste of time. You know, you go into a place like Walmart and you have two
50
long walls.
choices
You
of-
have
of
half
rice.
a
It's
mile.
like, who cares?
You
It's
have
rice.
half a mile of options to buy a box of cornflakes.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why people eat cornflakes because they're dried up bird food when we can have a bowl of noodle soup for
Right.
breakfast.
It's more filling.
And so it's very difficult. So I think part of, well, I haven't seen any research on that. I would love some doctoral student out there to research this, that the notion of regret varies from culture to culture. So for right now, we talk about American regrets, and we talked about. I thought, well, if you ask an older person about what their regrets are, and you ask a 20-something person what their regrets are, they could be very different. So I looked at the research, and I know some years ago when I was talking about death with some students, I read this post by a hospice nurse from Australia. And she had worked in hospice for about 12 years, and she often asked her soon-to-die patients what their regrets were, if they had any. And so she collected these stories, and she sorted them out in themes. And I'll just share with you the number one item. What do you think that will be?
Not spending enough time with family.
No. I'm talking about the top pet regret.
Not being authentically who you are. That if you had a burning passion to do something, that you followed the path of what other people wanted you to do, and you didn't
Yes.
follow your own passion.
Very close. The top regret that these hospice patients shared was that they didn't live the life they would have chosen for themselves. Instead, they lived the life they thought they were supposed to live according to the wishes of others. And the worst part of it is that they knew they could have made a choice and they didn't, and now it's too late. Now that is the regret. I think for the most part, regret simply means you wish you had done something different, or you wish you had done something. So there was this I think was published by Forbes. There's some research there, and these are not. I didn't know the sample, but I saw that on the YouTube as well. The top percentage of regrets that people have, and I don't know how old these people are. I know they're not hospice patients, so that's the only difference. The number one regret. What do you think? Just guess, because you see, it's a very
Oh,
clear
wow.
graph
Yeah.
that is like the biggest regret. The regret, the greatest regret is missed opportunity in education,
Oh, education.
32%. And then following that 22% about missed opportunity in career choices. Then comes romance, 15%. Then come parenting issues, and self issues is only 5.47%. And then the rest are just little bits down the road. We're looking at leisure, finance, family, health is way down there because they're probably still very young. And friends and spirituality is way down there, and community is right at the bottom of the list. The biggest issue here is that people are sad. The feeling of regret, I looked it up, is to feel sad or repentant or be disappointed over something that had happened or something you had done, especially involving a loss or missed opportunity.
I think sometimes regrets actually turn out to be blessings and opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to say that I regret marrying my first husband. I was very, very young. He did not allow me to go to college. He was very controlling. He was an alcoholic. And yet I had two beautiful children with him. We divorced after 14 years, and we separated in December, and I enrolled in college in January. Took me 8 years to get my degree. But I look at that as a positive thing. I mean, he's fine. We're friends. We don't have any.
Then it's not a regret, you see.
So it's not a regret.
No,
It
it's
was
not.
at the time because I thought, oh my gosh, this is missed opportunity. I'm wasting my life.
Mhm.
What am I doing? But it turned into a positive because I think if I would have married somebody else, I would have totally different children. They wouldn't be the same. And so to me, it was a positive.
See, I rather like to look at regret is definitely a negative feeling.
Right. But
But if you
learn
can
from
do
it.
something about it, it's
Yes.
no longer a regret.
That's right.
Yeah. Or
That's
if you
right.
can just wait to see how things are going to
Mhm.
develop, like you were saying.
I think regret, as they say, is a feeling, is a negative feeling, is a feeling of sadness, is a feeling of remorse, is a
Right.
feeling of loss of something. So it doesn't feel good. It's painful somewhere or another. And so many people dwell. They are stuck in a state of regret and they can't move on in their life. So that I see regret as a big negative pool of tears that doesn't amount to much, and it keeps people stuck.
But don't we as individuals, aren't we responsible or unable to do something about that
Oh, yeah.
to make it better?
Right. The thing is, once you do something about it, it's no longer regret, see?
Okay.
You have changed the state,
Okay.
right? Emotion is a feeling, and I believe you can only feel one feeling at the same time. You can't feel happy and sad in that same instant. If you freeze a slice in time, you can only accommodate one emotion at one time. So if you're feeling regret, you're feeling very negative about the event, the situation, because you can't do anything about it. The minute you rise up and do something about it, it's no longer regret. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So we can turn regret Now, we do not want to avoid regret though, because if you don't feel, you won't have, if you don't feel bad, you won't have a background to feel good.
Well, and also you're canceling out an opportunity for self-examination.
Right.
Right.
To-
And so,
Figure out who you are.
so a little regret is good. Too much of anything is no good. And so, as human beings, according to the Dalai Lama, our purpose in life is to learn, to grow, and to evolve. Now, we don't learn from experiences, good or bad, then we can't evolve. We evolve because we learn to do better. Then we move on. But if we're stuck and stagnant and we sit here all day long and perseverate on it, oh, I wish I had, and oh, what a jerk he was, he did this to me, therefore I am here. Once a lady said, gosh, by the time I learn how to play the piano, I'll be 60. And I said, woman, you will be 60 whether or not you learn how to play the piano.
If you're lucky.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you'll be 60. So I think for the most part, when we're looking at regret, is to not to be afraid of it unless we want to avoid. I think I was talking the other day, people come to therapy for two reasons. They want to get out of suffering, or they want to feel better than where they are if they don't feel that they're suffering a lot. Help me find happiness, or help me get out of this hellhole. Or both. So I think phase one in therapy is to stop the suffering, and phase two is to redesign and have a new life. This afternoon I was responding to a phone call of an interested party who had looked at my website. And so I said, what do you do? And he said, well, I am a software person. So I said, well, then you and I do similar work, just different hardware. And it was so easy to explain to him what I do. I said, the hardware is there. We have a few apps that are not very good for you. So we have to first uninstall the bad app, and then we'll just reinstall. We'll just install some new apps, and I'll teach you how to use them, and you are the same hardware, and you're good to go. Right? So the regret is, I see it as a human emotion that allows us to rise above the mundane and do something new and refreshing. Until somebody pinches you, you don't know you can experience pain. And pain is not a bad thing. Pain is your body telling you, hey, you're alive. I remember when I had surgery on my neck, my spine, and I came out of surgery the next day, and I couldn't move. My body from neck down was not moving the way I wanted it to move, and it was a very scary thought. That I said, well, I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of not dying and not being able to take care of me, and there's nobody to take care of me. At that time, my children were minors, and they were in Ohio, and I was here all by myself, a newly divorced woman starting life over. And I remember at the time when I was signing myself in at the hospital, at the admissions, at the line to fill in case of emergency, who to contact. And it dawned on me that I know no one to contact. In the old days, it would be the ex-spouse. Right. And my parents are dead. My children are minors. I don't have any relatives in this country. And so it was a really rude wake-up call. And I looked at the woman and I said, well, if something should happen to me, would you let me know? Because I am the only person responsible for me. I think in that moment I claimed myself. And it was, for me, a life-defining moment. to know that there is no one to call if I should die on the table.
That could be either something that just felt like the rug had been pulled out of you, out from under you, and you felt lost, or you could say it's a moment to claim
Oh, it was
myself
for
and my
me
responsibility.
extremely empowering.
That's what I mean.
For
yeah.
the first time in my life, I have to look at myself and my body, and I said, this is it.
You're responsible for you.
I am all there is.
Yeah.
I'm all I've got. So tell me if I'm dead, you let me know.
Let me know.
But the point at that moment is that, you know what? If this is the last day of my life, I make peace with it. If I should wake up in the morning, then I know that I've been given a second lease in life, and I'm not going to make a mess of it. At least I do my best not to make a mess of it. And to me, the notion of regret motivates me to prevent it. Not that I'm afraid of it, but it motivates me to prevent myself from sitting down and say, oh, darn, another mistake. And if I should see another mistake, I said, okay, another lesson, move on. What's the next lesson to come? Rather than to spend a lot of time perseverating on it. Where is that piece of paper? I found someone saying that there are certain defining components of the idea of regret. The first thing that happens is we've done something and we wish we hadn't done. And in this case, this young speaker, I found this thing on YouTube. It was fascinating. And she's 29 years old. And she talks about the one thing I did regret, just like everybody else. She went and had a tattoo. She went and had a tattoo, and she says, well, just about everybody between the ages of 16 and 50 has a tattoo. I said, I don't know. None of my friends have tattoos. I know my children do, but I don't. My husband doesn't have a tattoo. At least I don't know anything about it.
Right.
So she said, and it was interesting. She said, it took me a while to gather enough nerve to go and have a tattoo. And as soon as she got done, she walked out of the tattoo parlor.
Oh, what
She
did
was
I
in
do?
New York City, and she said in the corner of Canal Street and something else, she said it's a good time to have a good meltdown because nobody cares. New York City. So she said, I had this gigantic meltdown. It was an instant moment of regret. Tattoo is pretty much permanent unless you have a skin graft, right?
Yeah.
So she had a tattoo, and she said the first step was denial. It's almost like Kubler-Ross's stages of grief, of death.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the first moment was denial, and she says, oh gosh, make it go away. It's like, it seems so stupid. Here's this 29-year-old girl wanting her mommy, can you make it go away, mommy?
Put a Band-Aid on it.
Yes,
Just cover
can you
up,
make
and
it
goes
go
away.
away? And then the next stage she calls bewilderment, and she says, my God, I can't believe I did something that stupid. And let's see if we can apply it to our own lives when we look at a regret, right? A moment of regret. And then the next step is punishment. I could kick myself for doing something so dumb. You know how some people do murder, or they actually do worse things to beat themselves up. So the third stage is punishment. And I see a lot of this in my office, the loop that goes around. And number 4 is my favorite word, perseverate. Somehow denial, bewilderment, and punishment gets into this never-ending loop. And you sit there, oh God, can somebody please make this go away?
I can't believe I did that.
I can't
It's
believe
like-
I did that. Oh gosh, I could kick myself. What a dumb thing to do. And then you sit there and you go loop, de-loop, 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 and you can't get out of it.
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
Okay. And the then she said the fifth one is some people consider this an existential wake-up call, which was what it was for me that moment when I had no one to put down as my emergency contact. Not that I regret that I don't have anyone. It is not the time to regret that I married a white man and left home country family to come, and after 16 years of marriage, knowing that it did not work and I have walked away from it, do I regret all that? God, I don't have enough time in the day to relive my last 16 years of my life.
Right.
Yes.
So at that moment, I realized, I said, my God, that's just me. And you can sit here and have a pity party, or you can wake up and say, what are you going to do about it?
And you can also have a sense of humor about it.
Yes.
You can have what?
A sense of humor about it.
Yes.
Because you need to laugh at yourself. You need to say, that was really stupid.
Most people regret things they hadn't done, research shows, more than regretting things they had done. Interesting. So, what is one thing at this time in your life you regret you hadn't done? Opportunity breeds regret. It is because there are so many options, and we are always wondering if we made the best choice. And so in the work I do in helping people make decisions, I tell them no matter how complicated you think your choice is going to be, it's really very simple. At the point of decision making, there are only two choices. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Are you going to do it? Are you not going to do it? That is the only choice. Will you take it? Will you not take it? And I tell people life becomes a lot easier when your options are clear and simple. When you're flushed out, no matter how complicated you feel your options are, they're really not. Something may be complex in having different components. Complication comes when you throw in a block of fear. What if I didn't do this? What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't handle work and school?
What if I'm
I fail?
rejected?
What if I'm rejected? What if he thinks I'm not good enough? What if? So the what ifs is our imagination can be our friend or it can be our foe. So when we talked about earlier, who are the people who have no regrets? Sociopaths or people who have an organic brain disorder. You can't feel, you have no regrets. You don't care, you have no regrets. Right? Sociopaths don't care about other people. Egomaniacs and narcissistic people have no regrets. They don't care. Right? We have regrets, and more regrets lie in the category of missed opportunity than deeds a person has done. To me, that was surprising, because I know because of the work I do, people come in my office and they tell me all the things that they regret in their past, rather than tell me what they wish they could do or their missed opportunities. But the nice thing about missed opportunity, which I like this part of regret, is that you're still alive, you can do something about it. Now, it will indeed become a real regret if you talk about it and you do nothing about it. You have turned that regret into something positive for yourself. You look back in your younger days, you didn't manage your money well and you suffered the consequences. Now you're wiser and you are revamping your outlook on money and your relationship with money and how you handle money. And so you look back and you say, you know what? maybe I was glad for that experience, because if I didn't have a wake up call, I'll still be doing the same old stupid thing, and then I'll do the regret 40 years from now. Then I'll be old and lonesome, and I'll be the homeless man in the street, and kind of hard to do much about it then. That's why the top regret of the hospice patients were that they realized that they hadn't lived the life they would have chosen for themselves, and now they realized they had a choice but they didn't take the option. That is true regret. True regret is when you look at something as a missed opportunity and there is no remedy now because time's run out.